My name is Charlie Croft. I'm the Tourism Advisor for Loch Lomond and Trossachs National Park Authority in Scotland.
Claire Gemmell from Loch Lomond Shores in Scotland.
Hi, I'm Chris Brandt. I'm the Communications Officer for the Cotswolds Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty.
My name is Phil Evans. I'm Chief Officer at Eastbourne Council. I'm in charge of tourism and enterprise.
I'm Phil Timings. I'm Outdoor and Active Lead for South West Lakes Trust, and I work across the southwest of England at a number of sites in Cornwall, Devon and Somerset.
My name's Cathy Guthrie. I'm on this study trip because I am the administrator of the Haddo Arts Festival in the northeast of Aberdeenshire, and I am also the Honorary Secretary of the Tourism Management Institute, which is a professional organisation for people working in destination management.
We have a range of events and activities throughout the year. We have large-scale events like the Great Scottish Swim, which attracts up to 10,000 people each year. It's a spectacle, it draws a lot of press attention. We've got smaller events, smaller food and drink events, local events, and they're spread across the whole of the National Park.
The Cotswolds Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty has many different events and activities right across the area. It's a big area, and we are celebrating this year our 50th anniversary since becoming a protected landscape in 1966. So to celebrate that, we've got events and festivals and activities right through the year, from arts exhibitions, a countryside festival, pop-up events.
We run two large food festivals during the year, food and drink, celebrating Scottish produce. We also do small events just to encourage families to visit. We do local theatres, we do live music, we have regular farmers markets and craft markets.
We've got two main things. We run an events programme through the year for 9 months of the year, which covers everything from smaller community events, which we support, provide the infrastructure for, and sometimes advice to the organisers, right through to weekly events through the summertime. Two very big events is an air show and an international tennis festival.
A combination of promotional open days, sporting events for engaged members, and we also work with third parties to deliver their events on our sites.
Everyone involved in our site knows the importance of these events and realise that they may not trade well on that day, but the impact ongoing of having new visitors is phenomenal.
It's important for a place like us as a destination to refresh people's minds about what we stand for, what we're branding means in terms of audience development, getting younger people in, a wider variety of potential visitors. And the main thing is with events, we get people in and then they will return in future times and spend money in the town.
Events, not just in the Cotswolds, but here and elsewhere, are important because they're a great way to engage with tourists and communities into your products, so they can get to know an area or an attraction, or as I say, a tourism product, and actually explore and take something away from that, and hopefully tell others about a great experience that they might have had.
They give people a flavour of all sorts of aspects of the destination, whether it's food and drink. They can be quite specific to that destination and add a feeling of actually being part of something, sort of immersive experience.
It's important to attract new markets, attract new people to the area, try and get them to stay a bit longer, and maybe surprise them with a new activity or a new interest that they wouldn't have necessarily got into before.
I think we've learned that they're small. There are some there, they're very well hidden, in particular hidden from British tourists. They don't seem to be aiming as more localised.
An interesting week. We've seen some activities, some events, and we've kind of explored what might be taking place later in the year with different concerts. In fact, in the Caves in Abbey, a walking festival which is taking place in a couple of weekends' time. But we're not seeing too much events and incentives that perhaps I would have liked to have seen. I think there's great potential to do more and to join up some of the activity that is already taking place.
I think we found it difficult this week to engage with the events programme in Wallonia. Towards the end of the week we started to visit places where they're maybe a bit more active when it comes to events, such as the monastery, or the abbey I should say, and obviously the Waterloo site was absolutely fantastic and they've done some amazing event activity there. But I think what I've seen is that there's a lot of potential and they're maybe not quite tapping into it yet.
I think that there are probably more events than we've actually seen or known about. When I've looked at the national brochure, there seems to be a full events programme through the year, but they're not that widely publicised. And they don't seem incentivised to attract a wider audience, either internationally or beyond their region.
We do have a good base of events, but that they seem to be mostly local events, community events from the grassroots up. There are some larger events, for example the Festival of Soup in La Roche-en-Ardent, but they are presented as that, as extras. They don't seem to me at any rate to be being used terribly much as a hook for hanging tourism promotion on. They're an added extra.
My observations would be there seems to be quite a lot of sort of small localised events. There are a few big examples, sort of centrally organised, but predominantly locally driven and from the community.
What has to happen, generally speaking, and anywhere that you want to do events, is that you need the community to really engage with it and want to put events on. And we heard about some examples where events have been kick-started, such as walking theatres in some of the beautiful villages, and the community took ownership of those, and without any further funding have continued those on. So I think that's just a small-scale example of what could be done if a community decides that they would like to embrace events, and then you get the public sector and private sector involved to create compelling offers for visitors to then travel to your destination, spend money and spend time.
I think the big opportunity for them really is their food and drink offer, but in particular the drink offer, because Belgian beer is famous all through the world. It ties into their heritage. Most of the beers come from monasteries, and if they were able to put together a programme of different events in different places, they could keep things going for maybe 5 or 6 weeks in shoulder seasons, encourage people to travel around and to experience the beers for themselves.
I think there definitely is further scope to develop it. I'm just not sure how they will pull that together. There's so many bodies involved and they don't seem to be set in the same kind of hands-on mindset as we do at home.
Given the engagement they do have from their communities, the volunteer basis that they have in some areas, possibly having a centralised approach that embraces and utilises that, but also provides greater focus on marketing and coordination in a wider region.
Few major events. They clearly have some sports-based events, which at the moment seem, again, to me from what we've learnt this week, to be more aimed purely at the sports side or the specialist interest. But there is a good base, and I think they have got plenty that they can build on.
We saw some amazing venues that could easily be event venues. I'm thinking of the caves that we visited this week. They do some concerts in there, and we discussed kind of just off the cuff about why not have a big beer festival down in the caves, or a bread festival, or have your farmers market down there. It's such a unique venue. We heard about other unique venues, recording studios that they use. There's so many around, and it seems that people seem quite open to having events in their spaces. It's that they maybe need someone to drive that forward.
For a strong events programme here, I feel as though they should definitely focus on the quick, simple wins. They have an amazing amount of beers. That's what everyone recognises Belgium for. So beer fest straight away. Their foods, their cheeses. They seem to have lots of kind of artisan. Bread is very important. Why not have a bread fest? It would be so simple and something that everybody can take part in. I don't think they have to think too hard to come up with an amazing and really exciting strategy.
Very attractive, undiscovered countryside. Again, Belgians know about it, but most people beyond the immediate surroundings don't. When you come here, you realise it's quite unspoilt in many ways. The kind of attractions they have are very varied. It's natural landscape, monasteries, castles, and it's in a pleasant environment, and it's not too overpopulated or too commercialised at this stage.
Confusion of the structures. You have the province, you have then the Maison de Tourisme after that, and then right above the lot there is the region. To tie it together for the visitor's not going to understand those different boundaries. So an event strategy that focuses maybe on themes or areas and that is promoted with the same brand or the same recognition mark logo would help them all to satisfy their own individual needs, but also be part of a wider programme that the visitor would recognise.
I think certainly a strong events programme would help the area of Wallonia. I think that having a sort of progressive hierarchy of events, so a number of small localised events that then builds regional events, but there needs to be that central Wallonia brand finale event, and I think an example of that is where we are here today at Waterloo.
Because it would help people to identify where all these different sub-regions are in relation to each other. It would give those sub-regions the opportunity to boost their name and to develop a brand image. And I think just generally, Wallonia itself is not that well recognised beyond Wallonia, certainly beyond Belgium, and it would really help them to do anything to enforce that.
I think with a strong events programme, everything could link together, by just really community working. I think there has to be an overarching agreement about how that's going to go forward. There appears to be, I think, too many Indians. Is that there? Too many chiefs, not enough Indians? I'm not sure, but there just doesn't seem to be a real cohesion. I'm not sure how you would fix that.
So, Wallonia has Year of the Bike, but what I couldn't see was a really strong event offer that goes alongside that Year of. So if the Year of is looking to engage with visitors and talk to them about the biking activities that are available, then events are a good way to do that, and it doesn't appear that that's happening. So in Scotland what we do is we theme each year, and then we have a big national events programme that all centres around that theme, and that can be from the smallest local event right up to national scale events, but they're all pointing in the one direction. And what that means is that visitors can arrive in Scotland and know that there's a lot of, for instance, food and drink activity happening this year, or there's a lot of heritage and history events happening this year, and it just helps develop each destination's identity as well.
I think it makes sense for all the provinces in the region to join together to have some kind of events plan or strategy to move forward and join up some of what we've seen in smaller events and look at creating some bigger events and exploring those ideas of maybe having some sort of thing as a beer festival which kind of grows out and maybe exploiting some of the activity and events already taking place and kind of taking that up a gear and making more of that to bring in more tourists.
What I'd like to do is go back and look at how we're presenting ourselves as a destination. I experienced some confusion this week about who was telling me what and what each region stood for, and even within my own destination, the national park, there's lots of little bits that make it up, and I want to look at that again and see, are we presenting ourselves in a logical way, in an easy to access way?
I'd like to go back and do more to nurture my volunteers so that we get more of the local passion for the event and why we're doing the event, and that should come across and should add to the visitor experience.
The greatest thing I'm taking away from this is that an event doesn't have to directly relate to the core business of that destination, and that actually you can use other sort of engagement methods such as food and drink for us as an activity provider to still bring people to site and to still enjoy and have fun.
I think there's been some quite good ideas in terms of the incentives market. We've seen some very unusual things here. We did an activity day yesterday, which was a great thing for team building. And that kind of thing can be done fairly cheaply and adapted, it's fairly flexible. So I think that there might be a few ideas around that because we run sports centres, and it could be something we could add on to that as well.
Event-wise, I'm not sure, but definitely taking on board lots of cycle track importance and just reviewing how we look at cyclists and walkers and outdoor activity providers.